Hey everybody, welcome back. Thanks for joining me again as we go through stacks after stack after stack after stack of my CDs and talk about all things metal. Since my last video and in response to my MP3 video, do you download MP3s? I think the only reaction video that I got was from my buddy Marty, who had a lot of things to say about the topic, and it really touched home with a couple of aspects of the whole discussion and argument about whether or not you download MP3s. And one of the things that really touched home with me, and the thing that I think mostly has motivated what I'm about to talk about, is how he said that when you get an album and you don't know anything or much about it, and you put it in and it just blows you away, and it seems like when it blows you away from so much further away without having all that closeness to the album prior to buying a copy of it, and just having everything about an album, you know, the artwork and the sound come at you from such a further distance away than had you sort of walked up to an album, wanted to check it out, listen to it on YouTube, download it, listen to it for a while, and then buy it. It definitely sounds, at least in my opinion, it is a truer consumption of the art form that we are talking about here. And so, I guess I realized that I do miss that. It's been a really long time since something just kind of turned my ear about them, and I just went out and got it and fully was just slapped in the face by it. So since then, I've deleted all the MP3s on my computer that I didn't already have a CD or LP or tape copy of, or something that is so rare that I'll never find a copy of it. Like right now, I'm trying to download A Lurker of Chalice demo. So it was on cassette probably 15 years ago. I'll never find it, but I want to hear it. I'm curious to hear it. I can't imagine it's ever going to be released on LP. But I really like that Lurker of Chalice project. So those are like my rules for downloading for the time being. I'm not saying that I'll never ever download an album, and I'm not saying that I've had a change of heart or anything about downloading albums fully. I just kind of want to try this out and see what it's like. As a 36-year-old man, what's it like now, since it's been so long since I just blindly bought an album. Anyway, enough of the riffraff. We're going to go through another pile of CDs here today. And while we do that, we're going to be listening to Mournful Congregation's The Monad of Creation. This is just a beautiful, beautiful Doom record. This is the Weird Truth version. Came out quite a long time ago. This is one of my favorite Doom bands. Doom isn't really a preferred genre of mine, but I think just the way these guys do it is so incredible. And actually, I think they're playing Migration Fest up in Olympia, Washington this weekend with a lot of my friends. So if you're watching, enjoy that for me. I wish I could be there to see these guys. Yeah, I love these guys. The June Frost is an album I need to pick up. But I've been thinking that as I watch my videos, I really like the way Doom sounds as a contrast to what's going on all here. So that's what we're going to be listening to. So where we left off last was the middle of the Bees, and we're going to be carrying on through more of the Bees. I think we have, quite a bit more Bees to go. So the first thing I've got here is Birdflesh, The Night of the Ultimate Mosh. This came out on Razorback probably 14 years ago, or so. This is just kind of like a party grindcore band. I don't know, maybe sort of like Municipal Waste or something. Although they're more of a thrash band. This stuff is pretty much just straight up silly grindcore. And I had a phase where I listened to that kind of stuff as I was getting into my early 20s, and they were one of the bands that stuck out for me. I definitely haven't listened to that Birdflesh album in a really long time. next thing I've got here, gosh, I'm having a hard time recalling what this is, but this band is called Birth Screams. The album is called Earth Tones, and this is a self-released demo from a band that I saw somewhere, sometime. I don't know. I remember being impressed by it, but I honestly haven't listened to it in quite a while. In contrast, however, we have The Black, the Priest of Satan. And this came out on Necropolis in 94? Yeah, 1994. So this famously has John Nodvite from Dissection, and I can't think of what the other band members do. The other guys in this band are in some kind of like martial noise kind of thing, or neo-folk kind of band. I can't think of what it's called. But this album is fucking incredible. I feel like every time I hear someone talk about it, it gets the proper respect that it deserves. But I feel like this album isn't as well known as it ought to be. I don't know, I guess it's just really straightforward, grim black metal, but it has just like a hint of melodicism, and that definitely, it's just the trademark John Nodvite melodicism coming through. Now this is the only full length that they put out. It's got about 14 or 15 songs on it. Whirlwind Through the Land of Ice is such a killer fucking song. The Book of Leviathan on here is so good. But yeah, you gotta pick this up. It's so fucking good if you've never heard it. So I have it handy. I have a demo by The Black too somewhere on cassette. I have my cassettes all stored away somewhere, so I can't pull it out handily. But yeah, The Black Priest of Satan, fucking killer album. It's probably been reissued a couple of times, but seriously, that album should be talked about up there with fucking, I don't know, Transylvanian Hunger and De Mysteriis Dom Satanis and shit like that. It's an incredible album. Totally memorable riffs, and it's got John Nodvite from Dissection. Okay, this... Shit, I forgot I had this. This is another CD that my buddy Ron gave me. The bands on here are called Black Angel and Beelzebul Satanic Rites. Now I want to say I listened to this for a minute and it was just unlistenable. Yeah, I don't know. Here is, god damn it. Here is Black Blood. This band is fucking awesome. I can't tell you much of anything about them, but this is just fucking straightforward, violent, necrotic black metal. I want to say, they're from Finland. The album's called Cryptic Rituals, and this came out on Werewolf Records. This is maybe 6, 8, 10 years old or so. I want to say, yeah, it's just kind of a short album. Really good stuff. I recommend that band quite a bit. Just for like straightforward meat and potatoes kind of black metal. Next we've got, so this is a CD I just recently picked up. This band is called Black Candle, and the album is called Nightfire. Now, actually, so to my point earlier, this is an album that I picked up at Cheapo Records in Minneapolis, knowing nothing about them. And so it was exciting when I put it in and listened to it. It's really strange. It's got a really, I was really happy with the production on it. I really liked the recording quality on it. But a few of the things that you know hinted me into this possibly being good seem, Chris Moyen did the artwork for it, and you know this must be an early piece that he did, because it doesn't look like a lot of his other stuff. Usually his stuff has, you know, goats, fucking nuns, skull fucking god, gas mask, werewolves, penetrating watermelons, stuff like that. And this is on a label I've never heard of, Pagan Winter Productions. So, you know, it had all the trappings of a good record, and it turned out to be pretty good. It looks like this came out in about 98, 99. Not much to the booklet or anything, but I do plan on listening to this a couple more times and just really getting to know it. But on the first listen, we were like in traffic going through Minneapolis, so it was kind of hard to give it my full attention. Next, I've got a fucking killer record. This is Black Dawn's Blood for Satan. God damn, this album fucking rips. This is one of the later releases for Necropolis. And they just recently put out a new record, and I was pretty excited about that because this is one of my favorite black metal records, as just kind of like a third wave sort of band that most people don't talk about. This is a classic fucking record. Look at that album artwork. And to my point about CDs, this never came out on LP. So there's the booklet. I guess I would say it's mostly kind of like Marduk. It's Finnish black metal. It's distinctively got like a Finnish melodicism to the riffing, but the production on it is just so barbaric. I want to say the drummer on this is also the drummer on the first Rotten Sound album, Murderworks, and he's one of my favorite drummers. Got a cracked case there though. So yeah, Black Dawn, Blood for Satan. Can't fucking go wrong with this. It's so good. And their new album really surprised me. It had been like 15 years since they did a new record, and I think they had only a couple of the original members from this album, and it really did maintain a lot of its character as a band. So the next thing I got here is Black Death Ritual, another Finnish band. This album is called Profane Echoes of the End. This is on Hammer of Hate. And honestly, I guess this band for me has kind of fallen by the wayside. I don't really listen to them as much as I used to. But it's a pretty high quality Finnish black metal band. If you're looking to dig below the levels of like Baptism, Horna, Azagal, stuff like that, they're pretty good. You know how all those Finnish black metal bands are just incestuous with their members. I'm sure all of the guys in this band have been in Horna, Baptism, or Azagal at some point. But don't let that stray you away from this. This is a pretty memorable record. I also have a split with Azagal on LP. Next, I've got Black Sabbath's self-titled Black Sabbath album. I don't know anything about this version of it, but you know this record. It's fucking amazing. One of the earlier metal records that ever come out. Great vocals, amazing 70s production. Songwriting is top-notch, bluesy, down-tempo, kind of proto-metal. I recently saw somebody made like an animation on YouTube regarding the history of Black Sabbath and really like where it all started out. And it talked about how Tony Iommi was working at a sawmill, and he cut off a couple, like the nibs of a couple of his fingers, and he talked about how he had gotten like plastic replacements for his fingertips and how that had changed his guitar playing to be more simplistic songwriting. And it just kind of was funny to watch. It was charming to see how you could kind of tie down that this is how Black Sabbath got its signature sound. It was just a fucking fluke that he cut off his fingers and changed up his guitar playing in such a way that he created the music of Black Sabbath, and thusly created tons and tons and tons of metal music that has trickled down ever since that, unfortunate accident. So I'll link that video down below. It's a pretty interesting way to think about Black Sabbath, and in my mind, how it all started with a fucking fluke accident cutting off a couple of fingers, and here we are listening to Black Witchery and Conqueror somehow. So this is the Black Witchery Conqueror split. This came out on Dark Horizon at some point. I don't think this is the original version of this. Dark Horizon, I want to say, keeps everything in print pretty well. Nothing all that spectacular about this version or anything. Dark Horizon, as usual, has the minimal packaging. But this is some good stuff from both bands. It was an introduction to me for Black Witchery. But Conqueror, I think I heard their full length before I heard this. But yeah, this is good stuff. It's got a cover of a Blasphemy song. Conqueror doing Blasphemy is the ideal configuration. Next, I've got Black Witchery's Desecration of the Holy Kingdom. This to me is where it's at. This is my favorite Black Witchery album. This isn't a band I've listened to as often as I used to, but nobody doesn't like Black Witchery. There's a lot of bands that kind of beat around the bush, and the guys from Black Witchery have even said the only purpose that we have in doing this band is to sound like Blasphemy. And while I don't really agree with that, I think they have quite a bit their own signature kind of sound. But this album fucking rips. There's just no way around it. If you're pissed off and you want to hear something just fucking vile, desecrating, unholy, this is fucking where it's at. These band photos are so good. The guitar player, Tragenda, I want to say, recently died in a car crash. So this guy, I gotta say that's probably gonna be it for Black Witchery, sadly. Killer fucking band, never really put out a mediocre release. If this is your kind of thing, yeah, that's a really bummer news to hear. I think it was back in February or so. I think he got hit by a drunk driver. Sadly missed. I never got to see them live, and I always wanted to. This is Black Witchery's Upheaval of Satanic Might. Now this is a Red Stream version of the Osmos album. Nothing too fancy here. Upside down crosses, Chris Moyen artwork, you know the drill. Another thing about Black Witchery is pretty much all their stuff sounds the same. Band photos. But yeah, killer band. I put them on every once in a while. Yeah. That's all I have for Black Witchery. I would probably pick up, I think they did another full length after that Upheaval album that I kind of liked. So, we just spoke about this band. This is Blasphemy's Gods of War. This is the JL America Turbo USA and Osmos version. This is the only Blasphemy album I actually like. Honestly, I don't see what the big fucking deal is about these guys. Sure, they were innovators in this kind of style, but I just feel like people are taking this style way too fucking far. Look at this minimal artwork. This is just a single panel thing. I imagine this is probably worth a couple of bucks for being kind of rare, but honestly, I don't see what the big fucking deal is about Blasphemy. I've also got a cassette version of the other album, Fallen Angel of Doom. But I am so fucking sick and tired of seeing Blasphemy shirts and patches and stuff. I'm just so tired of it. You guys have kind of ruined Blasphemy for me, if you will. They're good every now and then, but honestly, let's move on. There's a lot of other good bands doing that kind of style, and maybe evolving out of that style. It's been beat to a pulp for me. So we're gonna finish it off with a recent favorite of mine. This is Blaze Foley, and I have two of his releases. Not metal. This, I guess you would say, is kind of a country singer-songwriter, maybe folk, if you will. He was active between maybe 75 and 84 or so, and he was a homeless guy, just a drifter. Moved around from couch to couch throughout the states trying to make a living for himself. In fact, I have a documentary about Blaze Foley and his tragic end. It's just a sad, sad movie, but these songs are just so great, so heartfelt, and honest. He's just such a lovable character. His voice is just so warm and inviting. It's not something that I listen to, this kind of music isn't something that I listen to all that regularly until a friend of mine, Austin Lunn, introduced me Townes Van Zandt, who I had heard a little bit before, and I really went nuts for Townes Van Zandt's live at the Austin Outhouse. And then he said, all right, you're into this, you're into Townes Van Zandt, well, you gotta hear Blaze Foley. And so I was really apprehensive about listening to Blaze Foley because I was afraid of possibly liking him more than Townes Van Zandt. And you know what? Sure enough, I did. I love Blaze Foley way more than Townes Van Zandt now. And, you know, it's irrelevant to even say it now, but this is one of my favorite artists these days. So he did a couple of proper albums with full bands in the studio, and it's like country with trumpets and violins and horns and stuff that I just can't get into. It just sounds like disco country. But so these are both posthumous releases. They've got some live material, some demo stuff, and this is really where it's at. It's just a man and a guitar and his songs. And this to me is where I totally connect with Blaze Foley. This is the first posthumous release that came out after his death. This came out on Lost Art in 1999, and this, I want to say, no, this came out in 2010. So if you're interested in that at all, give him a listen, and if it interests you further, check out the documentary. It's really, really good. They did a Record Store Day release this year of Duct Tape Messiah, which is another posthumous release. This is one of those artists where you just avoid the albums and get the posthumous collections of the demos and the live stuff and the outtakes and the B-sides, because that's totally where it's at. But the documentary is just a fucking heart-wrencher. The story of how he was killed. As the story goes, I'll spoil it for you. He was sleeping on a guy's couch in Texas, and it was a disabled guy who kind of needs someone to look after him and help him get through his daily life. And the disabled guy had a son who was stealing his welfare checks and using it to buy heroin. And so Blaze one day stepped in and said, "Hey, next time you come in here to steal this guy's check for your heroin habit, you're going to have to get through me." And so sure enough, that's what happened. And the guy came in and tried to get the welfare check. Scuffle happened. Guy left, came back with a shotgun and blew Blaze away in the stomach. And that was the end of Blaze Foley, sadly. But his music lives on in these incredible, incredible songs. I highly recommend you check out Blaze Foley if that sounds anything remotely like you'd be interested in it. So that's going to do it for this video. Hope you're having a good week. Hope you're having a good everything. Thanks for tuning in again. Don't forget to subscribe, share this video with anybody who might be interested, and join me next time for more of the bees. Later.